Okay, we're on page Reish Kaf Tes. Okay, let me just double check that I got everything working here. Okay. V'kol Eden v'kol Eidach HaMalachim hayotzim mishlosha gavonim ha'ayin. So now we have three colors of the eye: red, black, and green. He said, "The Ikrun Eini Yud Gud Ke Vav Ke." I believe this is where we were. Or am I wrong? I'm on the wrong place. We're on page Reish Lamed Ches. That's where we're at. The pasuk says like this: Einecha Tiranda Yerushalayim. So we're going between Yerushalayim. He would be going previously Yerushalayim and Sion. So he says, "V'omer because Einecha Tiranda Yerushalayim Einecha or in Enoch Ksiv. Because of Enoch Chaser Os Yud, it's missing a letter. Shuhu Lashon Yachid, which is the concept of making it singular. The mashpa sheyesh l'mala rak ayin achas, which means that there's only really up above one eye. V'ratamhu ki b'pasuk b'daber be'enecha b'daratika kedisha stima dekula, because this pasuk, which says einecha, which says like that, written einayich or einech, is we're talking about a kedika kedish, which is Erich Anpin. So b'ayin shel adika kedish is Erich Anpin. Hasasa b'kol hasaga. Is small because it can't be reached, and it also doesn't have two sides. It doesn't have a right and a left. Elakula yoma, but everything is on the right. Everything is chesed. So therefore his eyes are considered to be like really one eye. And this is what the pasuk is saying. He says, Erich Anpin. So it should have Marchmanis shining on Malchus, which is called Yerushalayim. Amnam called Zerabi, but that idea is going to be in the future. But now in our world, so he says the eyes of Hashem are on Ba. What does it Ba mean? I'm wondering, does it mean Ba, just Ba? Does it mean Bahe? But it's not with a Shema, so I guess it's Ba and her. V'lashon Rabim, it's plural. That's what he wants to say. Ein Hashem elokecha Ba. He says, what does that mean? Ki hashgacha al hamalchus hu agedech Zair Anpin. So if you want to know who is looking at Malchus, and the looking over at Malchus, Zair Anpin. Sheyesh lo shtei anayim, which has the plural concept. So when you see it singular, then it refers to Erich Anpin. Here it refers to Zair Anpin. A yamin is small. Ki ayin yamin mashgachas l'tov. It looks out and it looks for good things. L'tov v'bechinas rachamim. L'bish also. V'ayin Zair Anpin mashgachas l'ra bechinas din. It also looks out and looks for bad things, which are din. In other words, that it's always looking at the. It sounds like there's a balance between looking for good and looking for bad, depending on what's going on down below. Begin kach lo yiskaimu, but leficha v'lo niskaimu b'malchus hashgachos eini Zair Anpin. So therefore, in Malchus, the hashgach of eini Zair Anpin lo niskaimu doesn't stay. I guess I get tadir. It doesn't stay that way all the time. Bikum tamid. Gehashgacha ain't Zair Anpin. Mischal mischalef pamim letayv v'rachamim b'pamim l'ravadin. So it varies back and forth between one side and the next. V'chasam but in the future, Amar Pasuk and Necha Tiranda Yerushalayim, your eyes will see Yerushalayim. Then you're going to see there's going to be Hashgacha Ayin Shel Erich Anpin. That's where you're going to see Erich Anpin in charge, so to speak. Al Malchus at Nikros Yerushalayim, on Malchus, who is called Yerushalayim. Shehi Hashgacha She'ein Baha Bebechinas Small V'Din. It's a Hashgacha that doesn't have an aspect of left and din. 1 second. And then Kula the Tov, everything is for good. Kol hashgacha ki l'tayva. Kula v'racham, everything is that way. Dechsev has risen this pasuk in Yeshaya, Kamosha Kosev of v'rachamim gedolim akabtzich I will gather to get you together with a tremendous amount of Rachmanas, which also is the ayin of Erich Anpin, causes unity too. Pirish Barachamim Begedalim Shel Erich Anpin, from that Rachmanas are so great. From Erich Anpin, Yiskam Suchel Begaluyos, this will gather all of the exiles together Be'eza Geula at the time the Ose Lavo. But now we're looking at this time. Ein Lano Rak Rachmeh Zair Anpin. We can only get the Rachmanas from Zair Anpin. Nikroim Rachamim Stam, which are called, just generally speaking, Rachamim. 1 second. Okay, let's go on. So let's go. So what we said like this. Shebizman Azera Belon Niskayim B'Malchus. Hine Sivas Adavar Aromas because of Sha'amar. So understanding, what was the phrase? He says, Shal Ene Anpin Hine Sivas Adavar. So that is the Chashgachas of the Rachmim of the eyes of Erich Anpin is because of Aromas, because of Eretz Shehi HaMalchus. When we use the word Eretz, it refers to Malchus. Lashecha Hashem Elokecha, which is Hashem, which is Yudke Vavke. Who Zair Anpin Dorish Ozer Mashgiach Alecha Tomid is constantly looking at her, also always seeking her and always looking at her. Ki Eini Hashem Elokecha, because the eyes of Hashem Elokecha Shehein Eini Zair Anpin. Here we're talking about Eini Zair Anpin. Mashgiachim Bam Mereshus Hashana, that goes into this concept. They're looking at her from the very beginning of the year. Vad Achri Shana. So he said, Vahine, wait a minute. He says the Tavis Mereshus. Chaser Aleph Chsev, it's missing one letter. It doesn't have the letter Aleph in it. B'Torah v'lecho Chsev Rashis with an Aleph, ba'os Aleph. Now he starts in the Aleph, and I think this was significant to me, looking at this concept, because we understand the name, like say Adni, could really work din plus an Aleph. Here comes the Aleph. He says, Chsev Rashis ba'os Aleph. Ki ba lahoros b'shuzman hazem. Chaser ha'aras Erich Anpin harobas ba'os Aleph. So he has a reference to from the letter Aleph comes from Erich Anpin. So since this Aleph is missing from this phrase Eini Hashem Elokecha shehem Eini Zair Anpin, which is the eyes of Zair Anpin, l'chein lo niskayim b'chashgachas ha'aras Eini Zair Anpin b'malchus. So therefore, it doesn't sustain that niskaymu, the look of Zair Anpin b'malchus. V'sho man he. So let me just read this back again. I think I followed that well. On the number Kuf Kaf, I think that's a hey, Kuf Kaf hey. Yeah. He said V'keven shaha'arazu chasera ba'eni Hashem. So it's missing Elokecha, so you don't have this Aleph. He says it's a ha'ar from Erich Anpin. Shehem Shtei Eini Zair Anpin, and said you have the it's missing for the eyes of Zair Anpin. That's how it's translated. V'chein lo niskayim b'chashgachas ha'aretz Eini Zair Anpin b'malchus. So therefore, I don't know. I thought should be Erich Anpin here, but he says Zair Anpin b'malchus. He said because the Aleph is missing, he says that doesn't sustain the looking of the supervision of Zair Anpin. V'shel man hu. So he says, who is this? Me he b'chinas malchus azos. What is this aspect of Malchus? Shalom niskayim b'chashgachas ha'aras Eini Zair Anpin meishiv. That this is a little bit obscure for me to see exactly. So let me read it again. He says Shalom niskayim b'chashgachas ha'aras Eini Zair Anpin, which doesn't sustain the chashgacha, the eyes of Zair Anpin. Meishiv, and so he answers Hey de l'sata. Now he said Hey. He owes Hey. Shal b'chinas malchus hatachtoina. This is the hey. He's writing it hey Aleph. Hayeredes b'mislaveshes b'Yerushalayim shal mata b'olam hazeh. That comes down and is clothed inside of this Yerushalayim. That hey. V'shochenet b'beis hamikdash, and it also rests in the beis hamikdash and lives there. Beina keruvim. Where is it? In fact, this malchus, this letter hey, it's between the keruvim. And it receives its illumination, it is illuminated by the eyes of Zair Anpin. And see, this is the phrase that's got me. First of all, I thought he was saying that the eyes of Zair Anpin are looking at Malchus all the time. So now he says, but it's not sustaining. It doesn't, it's not continued. Bezos HaMalchus HaTachtoina, with this Malchus, V'chein Necherev V'beis HaMikdash Shal Mata. So the phrase that he's using is kind of obscure. Let's say when he says it doesn't sustain it. If he would have said sustain it l'rachamim, I could hear that, but he just doesn't sustain it. So l'chein necherev v'beis hamikdash shel mata v'nistalkach hashchina v'oz b'shas churban beis hamikdash v'oz, and then at the time of the churban ula'elach chesem, and up above it it's written kosav v'chapachinas of malchus al yoiner hishlik m'shemayim aretz tiferes Yisrael. So what does that phrase mean? I would say offhand, just without reasoning explanation, I would say he threw Mishamayim for the heaven, which is Zair Anpin, to the Eretz, to the lamb, the Teferis of the Jewish people, which again is Zair Anpin. Let's see what he means. Pirusha Teferis Yisrael Shuhu Zair Anpin, okay? As Eretz, he sent out the Eretz. Shicha Malchus al Yoina, Mimbekom al Yoina B'Shoyel, from its upper place. And he asked this question: my time at Tashlik Mishamayim Aretz. So why Tam Nishlakal Eretz Shiha Malchus B'Makoma? Why is she sent out from her place? Belama Amma Mishamayim Meshiv, and why does it say that she comes out from her place in the heavens? And he answers Mishum Dechasib, because it's written like this: the Fisher Kasav Pasuk Acher Al Be Shemaim Kadros. So I will clothe the heaven in darkness, or darkness. I call it black curtains. So let's say shepirusha v'ayne bekadros, and the eyes are in darkness. She'eni Zair Anpin hanik b'shemayim. He says nizlav shuchu b'shachor, they're now clothed in blackness. Begabda ukamat ischapu. The heinducha be'einayin niskasa begabin shachor. But what he means to say that at this point, the eyes are covered by the color black. And they become blackened, and stop working, or nullifies the illumination of kindness that comes from the eyes of Zair Anpin, which is shining into Malchus. So that's what causes the Malchus, which he said was contained apparently in this letter Hey, like Hey Aleph, which is between the Cherubim. He said like that. It's sent away, it's sent out. Malchus al Yoinib, so it's sent out. He's talking about the Malchus of Atzilus, sent out from its place. And that's the reason why, since the Malchus up above is not in its right place. That's what stops that's the stop of the flow of the ha'ara that's coming down into our world. Shehi Beis HaMikdash Lamata, because the Malchus representing this, the sent out, is the being sent out, is the destruction of the Beis HaMikdash. V'lechein nechra of a Beis HaMikdash, so therefore it's destroyed. V'zecher she'amach ha'kasev b'megilus eicha. So we have this pasuk in eicha. Be'inin churban Beis HaMikdash is hashlik mishamayim aretz. That's where that pasuk came from. He said they sent out from the heaven, in other words, for Yichud, I guess, probably that was in with Zair Anpin, to the land, to the ground, which by itself. Ki teferes Yisrael shuhu Zair Anpin, hishlik eretz, he sends out this eretz. Shehi HaMalchus b'Makoma, from her place, b'sivas HaShemayim, because of the reason of the Shemayim. Shehem Eini Zair Anpin, and this word Shemayim now, he says, it really means the eyes of Zair Anpin, really. Which are now clothed in blackness and darkness. And so therefore you see how the destruction of the Beis HaMikdash down below is taking place. 1 second. So let's go on. He says, Shamata. He said, because the pasuk says like the Tomei Ein Hashem Elokecha Mereshis Hashana. Let's go back to the word rashis again, he says. He says, always you have the eyes of Hashem for the beginning of the year. Vad achri shana. V'yesh devar la'ezet tzorach chosi v'kosav lomer mereshis Hashanah v'ad achri shana. What's the reason? Well, you had to add in that it comes from the beginning of the year to the end of the year. Hello, kevin shepasach So since you know that it says that your eyes are the eyes of Hashem Elokecha constantly on you, on Ba was Malchus, that is for the beginning of the year at Sofa. So if you said Tamid, it's the same thing. Ella, Bira Kosovu, but really what we're explaining is like this. Ki yesh the shol, this question. Al Mash Amr Eintich Hashem Elokecha Ba, where it says like this, Ba, like that. He says, Me'ein Aser Mistaklim B'Yerushalayim Ilun Einei Hashem. So from what place is this supervision or this outlook looking at Malchus coming from? Which is called Mistaklin B'Yerushalayim. They're looking at Malchus. Me'ezim Makom Mistaklus Me'im Einich Hashem. From what place are these eyes of Yud-Kei Vav-Kei, Shuhu Zair Anpin, where, from what place are they shining? B'Yerushalayim Shecha Malchus, they're shining at the Malchus. Kolomar. Heichen Ku HaShoresh HaElyon. Tell me, where is the upper root Shebemenu Nimshach Vistalklus Aris Eini Zair Anpin that causes the supervision or the looking out of Zair Anpin at Malchus Kedei Lahoyer B'Malchus in order to be able to shine it to Malchus? So the question is like, where's that source of the energy that allows that to happen? For Kedei Lahashiv Al Shailazu, so in order to answer the Shaila, it comes explains like this. The root of the ability of Zair Anpin to supervise and look out at what's going on in Malchus, who Mereshis Hashana, is from this concept of Reshiv Hashana, which has no Aleph in it. The Hainu min Ema Hanikras Reshiv Hashana. Now, he's coining phrases like, okay, so let's say she's the Bereshis Shana. If you said Zair Anpin was the Shana, then you could say that she's the beginning of what comes into Zair Anpin. Let's go on though. The Hainu min Ima Hanikras Bereshis Shana. For Hatam Shekasav Bereshis below Os Aleph. This is what he wants to refer to. Is that Bereshis is written Chaser here. The Hu Dina below Aleph, because Rashis without an Aleph is telling you that the origin is from a place which doesn't have this Aleph, which comes from Erich Anpin. So let's see what else he says. Ki ha'aras ima hiba b'chinas din. Let's understand that any glow that comes from England is in a constriction, and it is a din. Because in that Rashis, when you start out, the supervision that you're talking about is coming from Zair Anpin, and so it's without Erich Anpin, without the Aleph. V'dina is achad b'sitroha. But therefore we see v'hadin ne'echaz b'tzedadecho. So therefore that's why you see that dinim develop on that side. V'afal gav the law of kul dinim mamish, even though we understand that Bina, it's herself, or Mima, is not din. V'afal pi she'ein he b'bechinas din mamish, not really din. Ki looking at herself, she's in the rosh. This is all rachmanas. V'chadinim heim rak b'tzad acharayim shalom. Oh, here we go. He says, where are the dinim? They're only on the backside of her. Mitzad his pashtus the mata, and from the side of they're starting to spread downwards as they spread downwards from her back, which is you see in the Rishash that when you use a revua or even a milui, but a revua particularly, it's really moving to the back. That's the spread of the light that's coming from the back. Mitzad his pashtus the mata, as it starts going down. Because as it starts going down, that is where you have the arousal of the din. The pasuk says, "Va'ad achrei shana," until the end of the year. So he says, so there you got achros. So the question is not. I said that the word shana would fit if it meant Zair Anpin. So at any rate, here he says, really, maybe it's talking about Bina. Because the glow or the radiance that come from the eyes of Zair Anpin, Hamshachas Mereshis Hashana, which is coming out from Mereshis Hashana, which means what? Shehi Ima. Reshis Hashana without an Aleph is Ima by herself. Yeredes of an Hamshachas Me'eni Zair Anpin. It goes down, it extends into the eyes of Zair Anpin ad Achri Shana until you get to the end of the year. That's on the backside. Shehira Malchus, which is located outside. Nikra Achrishana, and Malchus now he's calling Achrishana the end of the year. Achrishana Vadai Din Ishtakach. So the Malchus Anikras Achri Shana, so Malchus are coming over here, which is called the end or the back of the year. Vadai Nimsa Misgala B'dinim. It's also finding that you have the revelation of dinim there, or the revelation of dinim. The Roch because it's written like that, Tzedek Yolim Bo. So the Tzedek is going to rest with her. Shebirusha Tzedek Shuhu B'Bechinas Dinim. So Tzedek means, I guess let's just keep it at dinim. Bechinas dinim v'gevuras kashim, and also the very difficult gevuras yolim b'smidos, that it would rest continuously in her b'malchus. Dihi achris ashana, because she's the end of the. In other words, she's the object of our affection. She malchus anikras achris shana. Ubekevin shenimshika ha'aras eni Zair Anpin l'malchus b'bechinas rashis below Aleph, and since it's looking at malchus, but it's looking at it with the word rashis, which doesn't have an Aleph in it. Shuhu din, which means that, in other words, this is actually the Aleph. So this is the Aleph that's coming and sweetening. It doesn't have it. Where is it coming from? So this hara din is coming from the upper malchus, El Yona Yerushalayim, down into Malchus down below, Beis Hamikdash, and also this Beis Hamikdash Amata, V'chein lo niskayim b'ha'aras hazo. So therefore, this ha'ara is not able to maintain itself. The nechra of the Beis Hamikdash, and as a result of that, the Beis Hamikdash is destroyed. The Beis Hamikdash has to have that connection. So all of us have to have a connection. Tochazi, come and see. Aleph b'luchudoi. Let's take the letter Aleph by itself. Very interesting that he said previously that to me that it came out from Erich Anpin, and that really represents Erich Anpin because it itself is a 26 or a 21. It's a different ways that it can go if you start chopping it up. So he said Talchazi Bava Rei Aleph b'luchudoi. Kusha Erich Anpin hanirmaz b'os Aleph. Let's take Erich Anpin. We say that he's an Aleph. He's only shining into Atzilus. Below Chibur Vislavshos Partsufim Macherim, without, in other words, spreading into the others and joining them into this light. Ikri Rishon. Then it's called Rishon. Now this Rishon has an Aleph, so he's shining into Atzilus. Az Nikra B'Shem Rishon Ki Hu HaRishon L'Kol Partsufi Atzilus, because Erich Anpin is the beginning of all of the Partsufim of Atzilus, Dakar v'Nekeva, Rishon B'Loshon Zohar. And here we see that it's Dakar, male and female. I guess I'm not sure where this came in, because we previously said a statement which said that Erich Anpin is only one. It's not male and female. Here it says that it is male and female. Dakar I read it wrong. Dakar. I'm sorry. He says, Ikri Rishon, Az Nikra B'Shem Rishon, Ki Hu Rishon, L'Kol Partsufi Atzilos, Docher, V'Nikra Rishon B'Lashon Zocher. So it's called Rishon, it's masculine. Below Rashis, it's not called Rashis. Instead of Rishon, it is Rishon and not Rashis, B'Lashon Nok. It's in the female, B'Lashon Nekeva. Ki Erich Anpin, who bebechinas Zocher below Nekeva, because Erich Anpin, he says it again, okay. He says it's the concept of just male, in other words, just giving and not female. So he doesn't know dinim in him. But Aleph Sasin Vagon is ma the lo isyada. So he says Ba'os Aleph, so this letter Aleph, Shehi Erich Anpin, which refers to Erich Anpin, Sasin Vagonim parts of Atik. So inside of Erich Anpin is another partsuf, which is the partsuf of Atik, which is called a Nikra Racial Delos Isyada, that there's something, if we can't find Erich Anpin, and we can't reach that, we certainly can't reach what's panimi to him. Kach is Chaber Chai Aleph Ba'aser Achron. Kashem is Chaber Os Aleph Azos Shehu Erich Anpin. So now you take this Aleph, and you join it together, the Chashpia B'Lahoyer B'Makom Achron, to shine into another place. So it could be just an illuminator in its place, but it all could shine outwards. That is, it could shine into Ima. Ikri Rashis. Then the name changes. Instead of Rishon, it's Rashis, and it has an Aleph in it. Oz Nikra Ibecha B'Peshem Rashis Im Os Aleph. She's called by that, and she has the letter Aleph. V'lucha Rashis and not Rashis. Ki with Aleph. Ki is Os Aleph. Shabbatebes Rashis, Mora al or Erich Anpin Hameir Be'ima, which is saying that there's a connection where the light of Erich Anpin is lined up to shine directly into Ima, or shining into Ima. So let's explain the idea of this Ha'ara Hazos, Shall Erich Anpin. V'omer I temed is chavra v'im tomer shaha'aras os aleph shall Erich Anpin this chavra be'iba chiber shalom. So if you say it's a complete and total joining together, lo teda, lo, that's not right. Teda she'ein darka hadaver kain. That's not exactly right. Ella is galiabe, but what we mean to say is not a chibur, but that in some way it's revealed in her. Ella galis aris Erich Anpin be'ima, but it's revealed or manifest. They use that word. V'nayirle, and it shines inside of it. Erich Anpin meir mashgiach mebekom be'ima. So therefore, from its place, it's not that it went into Ima or went down. It's shining into Ima. It's different. So it's a second-hand light. Okay, then ikri rashis, and at that point it's called rashis. V'oz nikra b'shem rashis im oz aleph. That's what it's called. So let's go on. So but now let's look at now. He said, "Lo miboyish ein Erich Anpin meir ba'at malchus." It's not enough to say that Erich Anpin is not shining. She'ein Erich Anpin shining directly into malchus. It's going to be, and he says this is really the difference. That's the difference. The difference is really our connection to Erich Anpin. So if he's shining directly into Malchus, even if you're talking about Allah Afila B'Zecha Rashis Im Os Aleph, even he's shining with this Rashis, with the letter Aleph, Shu Ha'aras Erich Anpin, the Malchus, which is the radiance from Erich Anpin flowing into Malchus, HaYedecha Lavshos Be'ima. How is that? Because it's clothed inside of Ima. Lo ashgach barushalayim gam came ena mashgichim b'meir b'Yerushalayim shira malchus the ilmale ku bahai sheim choisach b'malchus mekabelas aras azo shel rashis im os aleph. So if malchus was able to receive this light of the rashis from the aleph, is kaimach tedira, she would never stop. Then if that ever happened, then Malchus would have this light forever. And then the base of Mikdash would not have been destroyed. But the time that we're living in now, so you see there's no Aleph there. Bereshis is Shana, so he says Shana. Bereshis Kasev. Bereshis it's written feminine. And it's written chaser os aleph. Dahailo sheshor sha'aras eini Zair Anpin b'malchus hu min ima below ha'aras Erich Anpin. And so he says that this is a shining that's coming from Ima, but it does not have the light that is coming from Erich Anpin. V'lechei lo niskaim ha'aras is also, therefore it's not able to stain itself, this ha'ara. He says, but in the future, then you're going to have a direct connection between Erich Anpin and Malchus. Is going to shine right into her, not through, I guess he means not through another parts of Kasiv Kamosha Kosov and Yeshaya Rishon Letzion Heina Hinum. He says Rishon, this word Rishon has the word letter Aleph in it. Rishon Letzion, first the Malchus, let's say. Heina Hinam, they are here. So Yerushalayim mevaser eitan. So I'll give an announcement from Shalayim at Pirusha. Yerushalayim shecha Malchus. Let's talk about Malchus. Mevaser eitan laasi devo. So mevaser will not say said I will give in the future. Rishon hu Erich Anpin. When we say the Rishon, that's Erich Anpin. Hanikra Rishon b'shah shehu. Meir ba'atzvach b'loch partsufim acherim, when it shines by itself, instead of going through other partsufim. La'aseh devo hu atzva yair l'tzion shu malchus. In the future, he will shine by himself into malchus. Now we're starting a new place. This is actually down here at the bottom. It says the chutma, the Zair Anpin. We're going to chutma, the Zair Anpin. Now we're going to talk about the nose of Zair Anpin. So that was the whole thing with the eyes, and we have a chiddush here about the Aleph. V'chudma de Zair Anpin, the hoitim shel Zair Anpin, his nose. Tikunda de Partsufa, who are tikun shel parts of Zair Anpin. The nose really is the tikun, the place where the main flow, I guess, goes into Zair Anpin. Kol Partsufa be ishtamayde. Shekol b'hamachus are parts of Nikerbo, because all the form of the parts of is recognized in him. Ki mitoch pa'ulas ha'chayte, because if you look at the action of the nose, Niker machusa, you could see the form of Zair Anpin in that nose. Im ku parts of Erich Anpin shekula barachme, or I think he means not the nose necessarily of Zair Anpin, but the concept of the nose is the ikr, the face in some way. Who parts of Erich Anpin shekula rachmim. So if you could have that nose. Oh, parts of Zair Anpin shehudinim are parts of Zair Anpin which is not rachamim but din. Chut madal lo kahut machadika kadisha stimid to call stimim. So this nose, it's not like the nose of Erich Anpin. Shahari paula zeh hachoitim shel Zair Anpin enu kamucha papula shel choitim Erich Anpin. It doesn't work the same way. Hanikra atika kadisha. Now we're calling it atika kadisha. Hasasam Yosef b'kol haslumim, which is closed up more than anything. No, it's hidden inside of hiddenness. Because when you talk about the nose of Erich Anpin, the atika shuhu Erich Anpin nimshach chai dechayim. So this is where the life of life comes from. The mitrin nukvin nafkin ruchin dechayim dekula, because from the two nostrils, that's where you see the kimishnei nikveh ahut meyotzach ruach chaim lekol. That's where ruach chaim comes from everything. So here's a definition of ruach. So ruach is really the breath that's coming from the nose in this place of Erich Anpin. So see, going down, bein the Zair Anpin, ubein lanukva. So going downward into the lower worlds. Ki parts of Erich Anpin who kula chesed v'rachamim, the whole parts of his chesed and rachamim. He said, "B'chai Zair Anpin ve'elu b'zeh ha'choitim shel Zair Anpin." So, in regards to the nose of Zair Anpin, it's written, and this pasuk in Shmuel, who says, "Ola oshen ba'apo." So that you have smoke and fire coming out of his nose. B'chutmo. So he said, "Ve'esh b'piv toichel gecholim." So he says the fire in his mouth, he's going to eat it. They eat gechalim, and coals are flaming from it. In other words, really hot. It comes out of the nose. Zair Anpin, dinim, gevuros, dinim, and punishments for hatam. The reason is for why. Dinim, gevuros, parts of Zair Anpin, because those dinim which exist on the left side, particularly of the Zair Anpin, they all gathered together into his nose. There's a very fundamental difference between chotim Erich Anpin, the chotim Zair Anpin. Adkan, thank you so much.